endorsing what is known as the Republican form of government. If it was a Democratic form of government where the people majority rules, the sheriff would have to let them go and they would lynch him. Well, the sheriff tries to show the people the law, and eventually the people realize that the sheriff is right, and they disperse and they go home. At least that's the way it ought to turn out. The Republican form of government has triumphed over the Democratic form of the mob action. Ooh, buddy, I'll tell you, there's another situation in the Bible of Republican form of government. Y'all been reading it all the time, didn't know it. There was a guy in the Bible, in the biblical text, called Jesus. And he had been arrested. And the Republican form of government was to see to it that he gets a trial. But the mob, the Democratic form of government, convinced Pontius Pilate to wash his hands and say, okay, I tried to institute the Republican form of government. Y'all insist on doing it y'all's way. Here, take the man. And what did they do? The mob took him and did what? Crucified him, right? Y'all forgot the story? Y'all ain't that far liberated, are you? It's easy, brothers and sisters, to see how a democracy can turn into a mobocracy of angry individuals if not careful. Who owns this government? The Democratic Party? The Republican Party? I got news for y'all today. There was this guy from England named Lord Halifax. I don't know why they decided to call themselves Lord and Duke and all that kind of stuff, but Lord Halifax of England said, and I quote him, "They who are of the opinion that money will do everything may very well be expected to do everything for money." You got that? I'll say it again. They who are of the opinion that money will do everything may very well be expected to do everything for money. Now, I just told y'all the whole message. I just told you the whole message. I just told you why everything that's been happening the last few weeks has been happening. You see, people, with money comes power. Now, for the unscrupulous people, nothing will stand in their way to achieve the ultimate in power. Such people are driven by greed. Now, don't interpret what I'm about to say as a racist comment. I'm just telling you the truth in what I'm about to say. It's no secret, people, that banking and the Jew go hand in hand. Did y'all hear what I said? Now, I have to be honest with you. The Jew, actually the imposter Jew, the Edomite, is uniquely gifted for commerce, business, sales, investment management, anything having to do with the money end of things attracts a significant segment of this clan called the Jews. You take names such as Rothschild, Baruch, Kuhn, Loeb, Warburg, Morgan, Goldman, Sachs, Greenspan. I knew that one would get you. Volcker. All of these names are readily recognized by the world of finance, not only in history, but even to the present day. One of the most influential forces in the government is the oil banking complex. Now I'm going to drop stuff on y'all that our folk just ain't used to hearing. Now I'm going to tell you why we're not used to hearing it. Let me break away from my notes right quick, tell you why we're not used to hearing it. You know why? Because all we're used to hearing is what we hear at work, what we hear at church, and for those of you who still go to the bar, what you hear in the bar, or what you hear in the beauty parlor, or the barbershop. That's the realm of our experience as a people. And unfortunately, the one place that most of us go where we ought to be taught, most preachers ain't doing it. So we're stuck right where we were. Oh, come on, people. Do an inventory of yourself. And ask yourself the question, okay, I'm 35 years old, been in the church all my life. What am I learning at this point in my life that I didn't learn at 5 years old? Ask yourself that question. If you can't add any more than you learned your first 5 years of Sunday school, then you need to get your tail up out of that place and go somewhere where you can learn. I know, I ain't talking to y'all, I'm talking to folks looking at me on television. Everybody say this: big oil, and big banks, spell big trouble, for the world. Now I want y'all to see how this thing is working, people. What happened in New York a couple of weeks ago? What tragedy happened? Y'all tell me. World Trade Center was destroyed, right? The Twin Towers of the World Trade Center was destroyed. And you know what they told us? They told us that the Arabs did this. They told us that Muslims did this. That's what they told us. But nobody ever asked, why would Arabs want to do that? Think, why? Why would Arabs want to destroy the World Trade Center? Because they're terrorists. And that ain't answering the question. Because I don't know any terrorists greater than the United States of America. I don't know any. I mean that. What would make them, the Muslims, destroy? So we got to look. Everybody say this: we must learn, to see the reality, behind the appearance. Did y'all grab that? We must learn to see the reality behind the appearance. It should come as no surprise. Now, brothers and sisters, hear what I'm about to drop on y'all. This thing is deep. I'm a little tired today because I didn't get much sleep. This thing had me so charged, I didn't go to bed till almost 5 o'clock this morning. Just preparing this message because it's that awesome. Check this out. 2 of the 10 largest banks in the world are affiliated with 12 oil companies. I'm going to talk slow so you can do the math now as I speak. 2 of the 10 largest banks in the world are affiliated with 12 oil companies. Those 2 banks are Citicorp and Chase Manhattan Bank. These banks, follow this, people, these banks have become tightly woven and interwoven with OPEC. Now, for those of you who don't know what OPEC is, OPEC, I'm sure you might have heard it. It stands for Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. In other words, these are the countries that got the oil. Now, because of this, it's only natural, follow this, people, it's only natural that these United States banks, if all of your money in the bank is from an OPEC country, who is your allegiance going to be to? The United States or OPEC? You got that right. So what we're dealing with here is these United States banks don't have an allegiance to the United States, but rather to the international community. Now, let's create a hypothesis, even though it's not far from a hypothesis. Did you hear what I just said? All right. Just suppose that OPEC decided to pull its money out of United States banks. Now, if they pull out every cent deposited in big United States banks, it would spell disaster for this country. Well, like I said, it ain't that far from a hypothesis. OPEC had planned to do that. Now you understand why, when George Bush came into office, the first person he immediately had a meeting with was Alan Greenspan, the director of the Federal Reserve. You see, they had to talk about how they're going to compensate for all of this money being snatched out of United States banks. Y'all with me? Yeah. Y'all ain't getting scared on me now, are you? Okay, all right. Now, it's difficult for us to understand just how powerful these oil countries and international bankers are in terms of wealth. But you got to understand some people. Y'all ever hear the phrase say, money talks? Yeah. In the end, it ain't got nothing to do with your patriotism. Now, when it comes to banks, banks are in the business of making money, not being patriotic. And it's money that talks and motivates and controls the actions of nations. I'm going to blow y'all's mind with this. 90%. What did I just say, people? 90% of OPEC's money is on deposit in United States banks. Now see, we can't relate to that because most of us are broke. The most we can do is try to get some kind of an imaginative idea of what we're talking about here. But when I say 90% of OPEC's money is on deposit in the United States Bank, I'm talking about over $1 trillion. I didn't say millions. I did not say billions. I said over $1 trillion is on deposit in major United States banks by OPEC countries. Yeah, buddy. Now, so you'll understand how this works. It's deep here because the OPEC countries got their money on deposit in the United States, but the United States is not a member of OPEC. Y'all starting to see the problem now, aren't you? What countries are OPEC members? Algeria, Indonesia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait. Now you want to know why we've been doing so much bombing? Libya, Nigeria. How many of y'all have heard about the shell situation going on in Nigeria with the Ogoni people there? Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates.